Play music.
Kick it with my homies, only true ones, no phonies. My life real sweet like Tony Montana, Frosted Flakes with the tiger. And ladies, say hi to the kings of this output.
Let's go. Welcome everyone to the Spiel Sports Talk Show. This is your boy Sal. It's a Muslim here tonight with Lotus Tao, aka Quay. I hope everyone's excited for a brand new episode. We have a lot to talk about. Took some time off during the holidays and now we're back at it. So I'm coming here live at 2:08 a.m. is January 25th, 2026. And we are on the eve of NFL Championship weekend with those AFC and NFC matchups. But Quay, how you doing? How are things going with you?
Man, I'm doing good. The new year has been going great. Just busy all the time. Just working. Trying to get some personal things also in line, and then just personal growth with my business and just with myself. So been busy, but glad we've been able to make time tonight for the show. As I told you earlier, we had to do it, and it was midnight for me, 2 o'clock in the morning for you. Like, we had the show done because we got a crazy weekend here. So it's always a pleasure to be on the show and to give you guys the best sports news that's on the web.
Yeah. And let's get started here. And this news at this point isn't really breaking news, but the Mike Tomlin era in Pittsburgh finally is going to end after having a career record of 193 wins to 114 losses and 2 ties, and a playoff record of 8-12. Mike Tomlin decides to step down. He told the team early last week that he wasn't coming back, and all of the reports coming out of that meeting said it was a real tearjerker, including Aaron Rodgers apologizing for not getting it done. Um, and speaking of which, we haven't actually talked about that game on the show either, about that Monday night game against the Texans, where the Steelers could not score a touchdown to be competitive in that game. And it all ends
Yeah.
with Mike Tomlin stepping down. There's the meme of the field goal from Tyler Lute, regular season finale, that said, if it goes through the uprights, Harbaugh keeps his job. And then if it doesn't, then Tomlin keeps his job. And now there was a new version of it that says, no matter what happens, Tomlin and Harbaugh were going to be gone at the end of the season. And I think that would have happened a lot, even if Tomlin went on a deep run. I think that seems like he wanted to, step aside from the
You wanted to
game
go.
and dedicate some time to your family. 19 years is a long time to spend away from your family, those long weekends. And I'm sure even at home, his mind is always about the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's still 1 year left in the contract, so who knows what happens with that? Do we get kind of like a trade with what happened with, I believe Sean Payton's contract was like that
Mhm.
when he went to Denver, and now he's on the verge of making it to a Super Bowl. We'll see what happens with Mike Tomlin next year. Um, I guess my thoughts about all of this has always been that I thought that Mike Tomlin was a great leader for this organization in the locker room, but his inability to find the right staff to help build and develop his players, along with blunders in game, being aggressive when he should be conservative, and being very ultra conservative when the team should be aggressive. That was a trademark of his coaching style. But when you think about the reactions of what happened after he told the team that he was no longer going to be there, it was a reflection of his coaching style and how much of an imprint he has made on all those men in the locker room, and not just those the people in the current team, but individuals, whether it's the Le'Veon Bells of the world, and the ABs of the world who have talked about this man as if he is their father, or a father figure in their lives. And um, I think one of my favorite Mike Tomlin coaches is he doesn't shy away from coaching. Someone has issues, he always viewed it as, well, I can fix that. Um, but the truth of the matter is, a lot of these draft picks over the Mike Tomlin era haven't been the best, if to be quite honest. There's been some studs, obviously, but there's also been some huge misses, and that's also part of, I think, the frustration the fans had. And I think that's why a lot of Pittsburghers who love Mike Tomlin thought it was a good time, and it was ready to go. It was just sad to see the last game of Mike Tomlin's career, at least as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, be a playoff loss. A loss that I thought the defense played valiantly, and you can't stop that for 4 quarters, and if your offense doesn't score, you're not going to win the game. It's not the 2005 2008 Steelers. The league has changed, and that was another issue with Tomlin too. It felt like the team never evolved. Under Mike Tomlin, felt like we were running the same offense, same defense that we ran with Ben during the first Super Bowl. It's just the faces had changed, um, and to be fair, the team dominated during a time where there wasn't as many protections to players, especially the head and neck areas, and that was why the teams are so afraid to play the teams like the Steelers, because there was that risk of you putting your best players out there and them getting hurt from a valid legal play, which are now illegal now. The team never evolved, and that's what happens when things get stale. Mediocrity comes, at least mediocrity from the perspective of a Steeler fan. Because if you're from a franchise, let's say the Lions, for example, um, who hasn't seen that much success. They've seen like the best players of all time, even beyond their teams, the Barry Sanders of the world, the Calvin Johnson of the world, and they can't even uh, win that many playoff games either. It is a testament to Mike Tomlin to always be in the hunt, and be competitive. I just think the last couple of years they've really suffered from not having a quarterback, and maybe a lot of that can't isn't really Mike Tomlin's fault. Maybe it's on ownership and the direction that the organization wants to go. But I think at this time, they're willing to part ways, and I think it is for the best interest for both people. And I mean, who knows? Maybe with that 1 year contract, maybe they don't trade coach, and whoever they end up putting in here as the head coach, who right now we've heard is Mike McCarthy, who has verbally agreed to be the head coach here. I know I've said a lot, Quay, but I want your thoughts here on
No, you're
Mike
okay.
Tomlin. And obviously, this person means a lot to both of us, and how the Steelers are going to be with Mike McCarthy moving forward.
Well, we talked about this a little bit before the show with Mike McCarthy, but before I get to that, I do want to, thank Coach T, just honestly for everything. I was always one that said it needed to end. I've been saying this for years, but it was never just because of me thinking he was a horrible coach, uh, me believing that he couldn't get the job done, or not appreciating what he has always done for us, which was putting us in the best position and always having a team function its highest capacity, its capability. And that is something not many coaches can replicate. When you talk about a coach that is a leader of men in terms of keeping a a common metaphor here, being a ship above water, being a sails up and really getting the boat going. Like that's Tomlin. He ran a clean ship. He really did. But some of the things that you pointed out, that was the things that I always talked about that I was frustrated with. I kind of saw it early on in maybe 2018, 19, once the Killer B era was done, and I criticized Tomlin for how he managed and handled that. And I know you can't necessarily handle certain personalities, especially if people are ready to go, and especially if it's going to hurt the team. Like, I'm not saying don't give Antonio Brown the football, because he was clearly like the best receiver, possibly, arguably, in 2010's era. And so I can understand being frustrated, wanting the ball, wanting to be recognized as like the number one guy. To not have this veteran not be jealous of, some rookie and second year player. I do think that was something that could have been managed a little bit better. Tomlin maybe stepped in a little bit more. Le'Veon situation, if we just would have paid him the guarantee money he was wanting, that's literally the difference that we had with him. Stuff like that. We went to a game 2016, as you talk about in-game blunders, being too conservative when he should be aggressive, or being aggressive when he should be conservative. When we saw that game against the Seahawks in Seattle, and we do a fake field goal attempt, which didn't make sense. If you wanted to go for it on fourth down, I feel like you just go for it on fourth down. You don't need to try to get cute, try to, get all fancy and everything. Just line up and say, hey, if you beat us here, and it's just what it is. But to do that play, and it was just so ugly. I remember it as if it was yesterday. Like having, can't remember who our punter was time holding, but having him literally just like roll out, no one's getting open, there's a duck that gets picked off, and to be honest, we're lucky to get a return touchdown, because obviously there's a lot of big guys, not the fastest guys on the field during a field goal attempt. So hence again why, if you wanted to go for it down, you just put your offense out there, stuff like that. Even this year, we saw things where defense played so well. We can talk about the Patriots game, 4 different turnovers that game. Most of those were fumbles, and we barely got out of that game. Doesn't make sense why we barely got out of it. That should have been a blowout. Another one, we were the first team all year that made the Colts human. Yeah, they already had a lot before that, but that came from a very competitive game. I wouldn't say that, the Colts lost the game. It was just a good game, but they played against us and we made them look human. And so, but we only won that game 7 points, and we had many turnovers early on. We controlled and dominated that game. It doesn't make sense why we couldn't finish that game stronger. And yeah, just everything you mentioned as well. Outside of that stuff is just, it is the reason why I was kind of time to go. And I've always said this, this past year, name me a team or a sport that has kept a head coach for 10 years without playoff success. You don't tend to get that. A franchise will cut the cord, cut the plug, and say it's time to go. It doesn't matter if it's a Hall of Fame coach. I think before Eddie Reed even won Super Bowls, I think you can make the argument before he got to Kansas City that even if he had retired, he can make a case for being a Hall of Fame coach. Super successful, always got the Eagles into deep playoff runs, got to a Super Bowl, lost it. There's coaches who haven't had Super Bowls on their record, and They are Hall of Fame coaches too. So you can make the argument for Andy. Doesn't mean it was a definitive thing, but he had a great tenure in Philly. But then he goes off to Kansas City, performs. So who knows if that's something that Tomlin, wants to do. Sometimes a change is good.
Yeah, I mean about
I
Andy
will
Reid
miss
though, I
him in
mean
certain degrees.
a lot of it is
But
with him, the quarterback situation. And I mean, Cowher wasn't gonna
hmm
win one until the quarterback situation got fixed. And I think that's what happened with Tomlin. The quarterback situation didn't get fixed, and it wasn't
it
priority.
never got fixed.
But there really hasn't been that many decent quarterbacks. Like, I mean, sure, maybe the Jackson Darts of the world are intriguing, but it's not worth to mortgage your whole team to go get that individual. There hasn't been like a
And the thing
generational talent, I think, the last like 4 years.
and the thing that I've always mentioned, like early on too, with even with Kenny for us, like we've talked about this. I don't know if even if we got a quarterback, I don't know if we would have developed a quarterback the right way. As we talked about with Tomlin and the coaching staff, outside of even not beyond the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators, we never have QB coaches. There's been QB coaches that have been promoted to OC on a different team. Like they were a QB coach on this team and became an offensive coordinator on a different team the year after. We've never had anything even remotely close to that. And that was another, like strike on Tomlin's resume for a lot of people. His coaching tree is non-existent. And that's very rare. A lot of coaches will have a coaching tree. I mean, Sean McVay is getting ready to turn out two more.
Right.
So, Cal Shanahan and Vic McVay came from the same place. Like they were together in Washington. Like it. I think that's where some of my frustration also came from too. It's just like if we were going to keep Tomlin, we always have a top 10 offensive coordinator and a top to 10 defensive coordinator. And sad to say, we hadn't had that since Dick LeBeau left back in 2016, and Todd Haley being gone after 2018 or after 2017. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Tomlin ever developed anyone, and honestly, Ben was. I always felt like
just
he
a talent.
never really. Yeah, he was just like a God-given talent, but I don't think he was developed. He was just so big. But speaking of development and QB development, and to kind of look into the future, and that's what Mike McCarthy is, the Steelers head coach. This is an individual who has been offensive minded throughout his entire life, quarterbacks coach for multiple teams, including for Brett Favre in '99, and he was offensive coordinator for the Saints, and they made it to the
hmm
playoffs. So that team, um, I guess I'll ask you a question here, especially in the context of a lot of Steeler fans who aren't really excited about this, who wanted to kind of go young, and I know you're kind of in that boat too. But is there a bit of ageism here with the reaction with Mike McCarthy? Is this kind of something where it's just like, man, why are we getting this old head who's similar to Mike Tomlin in terms of credentials and their backgrounds are different, obviously. One's offensive minded head coach, defensive minded head coach. Do you think that this Steelers team can actually do really well with Mike McCarthy at the top as long as they do put those offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators? And do you think Mike McCarthy is going to be in position to put the best players in place to, or I mean, the best coaches in place to get the players in the positions they need to be on the field?
I think that's a tough question for different reasons, but um, I think my short answer right now would be a yes. Um, but it's a conditional yes. I would say that condition comes from if we're able to add some more talent to the offense, primarily at receiver, which I think we'll do. I think we're going
Yeah.
to definitely tune this offense a little bit more. Outside of the running game, our tight end room, and obviously DK when he's pinnacle, the like focus point of the offense. We have weapons that need to round out the team a little bit more. McCarthy, when he was a coach with the Cowboys, he did make them have good records. Uh, they were 12-4. I think his final year with the team.
I think 3 years in a row they had
Yeah,
12 wins. I think
okay.
the
I thought it
final
was like
year, I think he got fired midway through the season or something. I think they weren't doing too well, but I think before that there were 3 12 wins, and I think Dak had like the best year of his career, and obviously he
that's what I'm
helped
saying.
develop Aaron Rodgers. So there, I mean, but again, that might be an Aaron Rodgers thing, but it seems like McCarthy is this focal point in terms of developing the offense, and maybe that's why the Rooneys want him. He's also a Pittsburgh guy from Greenfield, just down the
Hmm.
street. So maybe that has a lot to do with it too. We always like to get people who are in house, whether inside of our program or grew up around here or have a
Or grew up.
brother
Yeah.
on the team. Uh, I guess the thing that makes me sad about it is the the timing of it. It almost feels like the team jumped the gun and should have just spent more time just seeing who else was available. It was one thing if Mike McCarthy was the most desired head coach in the league, and there's a whole bunch of openings right now. And I think the Titans were the only team that had any interviews with him. And I'm not saying that this might not be the best decision that they have, or maybe that they met with these
Hmm.
other coordinators and they just weren't that impressed. Um, but I mean, you had everyone come through, everyone from Brian Flores to requesting second interviews with
Weaver.
Shula, yeah, Weaver, and they were like, you know what we really need is Mike McCarthy. So a lot of the fan base is just upset. Um, they feel like we
I
went
don't think.
from Tomlin to the white Mike Tomlin, basically, the Greenfield
Yeah,
Mike
and I
Tomlin.
don't. And I think that's where more of the frustration comes from to finish, answering the question. And like, I think that's where more of the frustration. I think it's really an age thing, because I think we'd have been totally fine having a coach. I mean, a lot of coaches that are current, at least some of the newer ones of years, a lot of them are in their mid to late 30s, early 40s. So I get people wanting to go younger in that regard. Um, but I think people would have been totally fine having someone who's in their early 50s, as long as they have like credentials or would be the thing that we needed as a coach. So I don't think it's that. I do think it's more of the fact him and Tomlin have a very similar coaching career over the past 10 to 15 years. And people are worried if that's going to be a thing. But I do like that he does have more of a offensive mind. Hope that is more so used with developing Will Howard. I think that's um, where I really want to see some things grow and develop. If he's able to
Yeah.
have Will Howard look like the champion that he did in the national championship 2 years ago, and I think we're essentially we're gonna be good again. We'll see what happens with the defense. I think we're gonna shed a little bit of fat on the defense, but um, as long as the offense looks fun, I just think my biggest thing too is what is the plan? Is the plan just to be competitive, to have a fun product? Like, or I'm not saying we're a team or organization that looks to tank, but um, yeah, what's the goal here? Is the goal a Super Bowl? Is the goal to say, hey, he's going to be the coach for the next few years until we build up that guy that's going to be the real future? We joked about it before the show. Is Tomlin just getting a sabbatical and he'll come back after McCarthy? It's just like, hey man, I'm going to hold it down a little bit, make sure I add a little bit here for you, put the team in the right position, so when you come back, you can win a Super Bowl. Sounds, but it's just I don't know the vision here. I think that's also where fans are, frustrated and confused because what is the vision here? Um, are we going for a Super Bowl? Are we rebuilding? Are we fine tuning? Like what's going on here? I don't think this move has answered that question. If anything, it's brought more questions and doubts to the future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely am not as excited as if they got one of these younger coordinators. But again, it could be that familiarity that Coach McCarthy has with just our city and just having roots here. It's a nice little
Hmm.
story. It's also for him, it would be a great comeback story too. But I
Hmm.
think this team will get better through the draft. I mean, the team has a ton of picks. The draft is here in Pittsburgh
In
in a couple
Pittsburgh.
of months. It's gonna be electric. I mean, with McCarthy as the hometown guy. But I will say, I think a lot of folks look at him as someone who's just not that good in today's game. And um, the Cowboys, especially at the end of his tenure there, failed for multiple reasons. And the head coach has a lot to do with that. But I think that his coaching style will actually work here. It
Hmm.
the whole concept of the players coach, we attribute it to Mike Tomlin a lot, but I think Mike McCarthy also gets that label as well in different ways, right? They're different people. Um, but yeah, let's move on and talk about the playoffs this weekend. I mean, we have a crazy matchup here in AFC with the Patriots and the Broncos. They travel to Denver, the top seeds. The Patriots played the Texans, who uh, beat the lights off the Steelers in the fourth quarter on Monday Night Football
Hmm.
playoffs on ESPN at Acrisure. Mike Tomlin's last game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. And then CJ Stroud, who struggled in that game and kept it in reach for 3 quarters for Pittsburgh, does pretty much the same thing in the second game. And the Patriots were able to secure the dub at Foxborough. Um, and on the other side, we have the Seahawks, who beat up the 49ers. I think it was surprising to everyone in the league. It really put the league on notice last
Hmm.
weekend. And they are going up against the coach that we were talking about with McVay, who is one of the younger head coaches to win a Super Bowl, very similar to Mike Tomlin. But the difference here, I think, between the two is we see the innovation and the ability to have an offense that's relevant in today's game. But that offense has struggled with Stafford getting pretty beat up. Maybe he's hurt. Line just isn't doing the best job protecting him too, and he's going up against that vaunted Seahawks defense. So, which game are you more looking forward to this weekend, and what matchups are you excited to see there?
Well, I hate to say it. I mean, I'm not saying Jared Stidham's going to just be a bum out there, but I really would have loved to see Bo Nix, and I think that matchup would have been more exciting for me. I do think it will be somewhat of a surprising game. Um, but the game that I am more excited for is Seahawks versus the Rams. I think regardless, whoever wins that game is likely going to win the Super Bowl. Um, I just think from top to bottom, they are the best team and have the most experience. Even if the Patriots got there, I think the Patriots are a great team. I really do. Even if the Patriots got there, though, I just think they're still a little young, um, and aren't quite there yet. I think this year they've been ahead of schedule. Honestly, very similar to and if only we had Randy on the show. Honestly, similar to like the Commanders last year. I don't think many people thought the Commanders were going to get to an NFC Championship game, and they did. They got to they got to an NFC Championship game, and they got routed by the Eagles, the eventual Super Bowl champ. And I think it's going to be something similar if the Patriots were to go to the Super Bowl, which I do believe they're going to win. If we're going to put our picks in for each game, I do think the Patriots will win a ugly game in Denver. But what I like about this Seahawks Rams matchup, Matthew Stafford, yes, he's a little banged up, finger that he hurt during the wild card round. I think it's bugging him, and I think you could tell.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so.
but I do think his experience, the way that offense can run, whether it's through the air, whether it's on the ground, people know Kyron Williams, but I think a lot of people know, Blake Corum was a stud for them, especially the final. If we're going to have a meme here, 6-7 weeks of the season. Uh, Dude was pretty much a goal line
This
beast, tough runner. They complement each other very well. So they need to take pressure off of Stafford. I trust McVay to easily drum things up. But like you said, this is a very vaunted Seahawks defense. In both of their matchups, though, McVay has found a way to score on them. Last matchup was an overtime matchup. Each of these games have been decided by 3 or less. So it's going to come down to the wire. And I think the X factor will be Sam Darnold for the Seahawks. He's going to have to perform. I do believe Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. I don't think, we should lean on the fact that he ended last year on a low note. There's been games this year where he hasn't the greatest. We could say that for a lot of quarterbacks that we deem to be great or good, who haven't looked great all year type of, so you can make the same argument. But I do think he has to play not, superstar level football, but I do think he's going to have to be a above average type of starter, which I believe he is, and to play to that potential. And if he doesn't, if he has a CJ Stroud type of game, not saying that even that, but even just, interception, 2 interceptions, a fumble off of a sack, we can't have that. Like, I think that'll be the reason they, win or lose a game, depending on how Sam Darnold plays. So, again, it's the third matchup. You don't like to necessarily always say it's going to be a clean sweep. Last time I think we saw that was Steelers and Ravens, back in 2008. Clean sweep against them. We beat them twice in the season and in the playoffs. Like, that was the one I was so scared about because I'm like, we beat them twice in the regular season. Now we got to go against them in the playoffs and the AFC Championship. That
Might have
game
lost
scared
that
me, but it
game.
was one of the
Might have lost
but that
if
was
it
one of the
wasn't for
craziest games
Troy.
ever.
If it
Wasn't for Troy. If it
yeah.
wasn't for Ryan Clark laying out
Yeah.
McGahee.
That's a suspension
So
today.
today, yeah, it's definitely very much a suspension.
Yeah. I mean, if you look
So
at Sam Darnold's stats, I mean, he had 245 yards in the playoff game last year for Minnesota, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 9 sacks. 9 sacks. That's insane. Stafford had 209 and a touchdown, 2 sacks. So it's really going to come down to whether or not Sam Darnold can put points. Because if he can put 21, 28 points, I mean, that's a tall task even for Stafford and company. I know they have these talents on offense, but the
and a top
Seahawks
8
made the
defense.
Niners look like they didn't belong in the same league last week.
Yeah, very, very true. But again, like I said, early on in the season, the Seahawks, I mean, the Rams have found ways to score on the Seahawks, and I think that's a testament to McVay's genius. And that man probably has hit the lab overtime, overtime in the lab this week just to make sure he has the perfect game plan. If he has to switch, his plan, he's going to have different things he's going to throw out there to make sure this team can get back to the dance. Because I think he wants to get back to the dance. And three Super Bowl appearances, all before the age of 40.
Yeah.
He's on Hall of Fame trajectory. And while we
Doesn't
talk about
have
Hall of
Aaron
Fame
Donald
trajectory
this
before,
time.
doesn't have Aaron Donald this time. But while we talk about Hall of Fame trajectory, I've asked the question of if Stafford wins another Super Bowl,
Is he a Hall of Famer?
is he a Hall of Famer? I think personally he was a Hall of Famer
He might
and
have
he
Hall of
won his
Fame.
first one.
He might have been a Hall of Famer before the Super Bowl. I think that first
I,
Super
I
Bowl
w-
cemented it for sure.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think there was no dispute after that first one. He always had the numbers in Detroit. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's garbage numbers." He always had the numbers in Detroit. There were games where they were very competitive, highly competitive. They just didn't have all the pieces. It was never Stafford's fault, and no one ever blames Stafford for
No.
Detroit. And then he gets to LA, wins the Super Bowl, played very well too, throws a game-winning touchdown, all that stuff. And he's had he has had great years after that. Even this year, probably one of his greatest years, if not his greatest year, MVP type level year. If he were to win this, I think for sure there should be never be a question. I don't think there should be a question right now, but should never be a question if he goes ahead and does it. And um, also I think for Stafford, um, people like he this even if he does, I think even if he doesn't go further again, I think he has solidified his place as a Hall of Famer. But I just think two will definitely again solidify it, and I think actually would put him ahead of like a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. I think right now, I don't know if people will say that, but I think there's already an argument to say that. And then if he wins the second one, I think it's definitive at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's a lot on the line in terms of legacy there, especially for that Rams team. And then you have on the other side, uh, the Drake Mays of the world who's starting to build it. And then you have Sam
Mm-hmm.
Darnold who has actually created this legacy for himself. It's just in a negative light. He's trying to shed off all this negative I guess this negative aura that he has because of the performances he's had in the past, including last year's playoff game against these Rams. So what does happen here if he loses that game? I mean, and if he never wins, I mean, is it enough for Sam Darnold to get 14 wins, in the regular season? Um, or is it kind of this thing where it's like it's a team sport at the end of the day, right? And as long as he's not the one causing them to lose with turnovers or bad play, then I think it's been a success. And it makes you really think, should a team like the Steelers have gone for a player like Sam Darnold or even Matthew Stafford, who were both, in question to kind of leave their team? Um, my answer to that is I think no matter who we would have put as a signal caller of this offense, it probably would have been more or less the same. Aaron
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers was serviceable. Definitely wish him the best of luck. But who knows? Maybe there's going to be this. They're going to reunite McCarthy and Rodgers um, after the beef that they had. I think the fallout that they had over there in Green Bay. Um, to kind of go on a side tangent there, always linking it back to Pittsburgh,
Always.
PA, always linking it back. And speaking about a team that most Steelers fans hate, the Patriots here. Um, Denver's been such a beast as well. But it does seem like the Patriots' trajectory is just a lot higher now, especially with Bo Nix suffering that I believe it was an ankle injury on the very last drive of
Broke a
the
bone.
game. which is so sad to see. Do you think Stidham here has a chance? I mean, he has some playmakers there on offense. Do you think he has a chance to kind of upset the Patriots? I would believe the Patriots are the favorite here just because of the quarterback situation.
I think it would be a great story. I don't think he's going to play bad, um, but I don't know that he'll have enough to come out here and beat a really good Patriots defense. I don't think anyone actually is really talking about how good their defense is. We've been talking about the Texans when they were in, and we were talking about the Broncos, of course. But I think we really look at it. This Patriots defense that is led by head coach, Mike Vrabel, who's more of a defensive mind. Yeah, he leads as more players coach, but he's definitely more of a defensive mind. And he's had this team perform and work together as a unit. As I said, I think they're ahead of schedule. So I don't know if they come out on top this year. They've also had everything working in their favor this year with having one of the easier schedules. I think a top 3 easy schedule. Look at the numbers again. But yeah, the fact that even when they've played actual competition, they played the Chargers twice, once in a regular season, and then wild card round, and their defense played very well. They are able to win games without Drake May having a great game, and Drake May has had great games all year. So I just think it will be a little too much. Something that as good as the Broncos defense is, something that they don't do well is keep teams out the end zone. For the Texans, they were really hard to score on. They were hard to move the ball. Multiple times you've seen a team with a high-powered offense, or at least a creative offense, put points on this team. I mean, we can look at a quote-unquote bad team, which I think is a little overblown, but a quote-unquote bad team like the Giants should have and could have beat the Broncos. Ended up becoming a shootout. Bo Nix became Superman that day and brought them back and won. But again, this Broncos defense on multiple occasions all year has given up points. And I think this Patriots offense is good enough in a lot of different ways. They have multiple receivers they can beat you with. They have multiple tight ends they can beat you with in Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry. And that was something that the Broncos struggled with. They actually struggled a lot with tight ends. So I can expect to see maybe Vrabel show a couple more 12 personnel looks where you have 2 tight ends on the field, and you have a 2-headed monster. Ramondre Stevenson cleaned up the fumbles. Travion Henderson had a decent rookie season, very explosive. So I do think the Patriots just have a little too much. I'm not going to say Denver can't win, but it is all predicated off of how Stidham plays. And I think, as I said, for Sam Darnold needing to play above average, I think Stidham needs to have above average plays to superstar level plays throughout the game. That doesn't mean he has to play that way start to finish, but there has to be moments in that game when they need it that it's above average or superstar level type of play. So if they get that, I can see Denver, pulling the upset. It's crazy being home that they are, the underdogs. But again, like you said, it's because Bo Nix is not playing. I think it would have been more of a 50-50 toss up if Bo Nix was playing, but Stidham has to channel, his teammate. He has to say, "Hey, Bo, give me some of your powers for this game,
Yeah.
so I can win this game for us." He needs to become Nick Foles, essentially. If he can become Nick Foles, Broncos have a chance.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that you picked the Patriots to win, and I think going into the season, I don't think that many people thought about this team in that way. This Broncos team, it's kind of been there, done that. The Seahawks were kind of like the Steelers, where they were like middling. So they were
Mm-hmm.
relevant, but not really relevant in terms of a championship. But obviously, Sam Darnold coming to the team was that X factor. And then the Rams, who, as you've said, this might be the third Super Bowl that they go to in only a couple of years. The Patriots only had two Pro Bowlers. They only had Drake May and Christian Gonzalez, their cornerback. So even the people who are deciding these things are kind of sleeping on the Patriots team. Is it because the schedule was soft? Because they play in that division of theirs, with the Bills kind of fading off in terms of the quality of play from Buffalo. Uh, so I just thought it was interesting. I wanted to call it out that they only have two
Yeah.
Pro Bowlers, and compared to all the other teams who have at least four that were selected. I mean, the Broncos, I believe, have six across their squad, and the Seahawks have a ton too, from Jackson Smith and Jigba, and to even
Mm-hmm.
role players like the Rashid Shaheeds, who can really make a difference in this game. If he gets one
Kick
return,
return, punt return.
I don't know how much offense the Rams are going to be able to generate on that really good defense, especially that they know you're going to throw the ball there. So they've really constructed their team really well. I think they've benefited from that trade with our Pittsburgh Steelers there for DK, and be able to turn that pick into players who have been stepping up for them this year. So we'll see. Will the 12th man be there on Lumen Field in Seattle to beat the Rams? Or is McVay going to conjure up another spell here for Sam Darnold, and he won't be able to beat them? Which would be a very interesting storyline, having that be his kryptonite. And then obviously, can the Broncos rise above the injury to Bo Nix at quarterback with Stidham to
Mm-hmm.
beat the Patriots against Drake May, who right now is looking like the MVP. I know you're not supposed to vote for MVP based off the postseason, but right now where we're looking at it does look like Drake May over Stafford, even though I feel like Stafford's going to get it just because of, uh, it's Matthew Stafford. Um, cool. Well, that's it
It's Matthew
for
Stafford.
our show. Uh, Wanted to basically give our thoughts about the head coaching carousel there over in the Steelers facility, from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy, and talk about the playoff games this week. Um, Before we go, want to jump into our spiels here. I'll go first. We just actually got done watching UFC
Mm-hmm.
324, Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett, fighting for that interim lightweight title. And the fight had so much action, as you would expect from a Justin Gaethje fight. Reckless
Gaethje.
abandon, just putting it all on every punch. Throughout the fight, I mean, there were times where he would completely miss and just like can be completely off balance, as you would expect when Gaethje goes for those kill shots. But Paddy, those scousers, the scousers don't go down. He took so many hits in this.
Big.
Um, and Paddy's chin, I mean, it's a legendary chin. I know it's a loss, but I think it's one of those losses that builds the aura for a particular fighter there. Um, I would have liked Gaethje to be more methodical, like he had been over the last couple of fights, to protect himself. So he kind of opened
Mm-hmm.
it up for Paddy to have some moments of his own. But honestly, it all came down to just Justin being able to just constantly put pressure on him. He was like the Terminator, and Patty was just basically backing down the whole time, going backwards the whole time throughout that fight. There were some random events. There was an eye poke that was called out, some low blows that were called out too. Wonder what would have happened if the fights kind of didn't stop during those
It's
two
slow, yeah.
moments. But it is what it is. And that was that in terms of the fight. It was a unanimous decision again across all three judges there, with Justin Gaethje, who looks like he is on the tail end of his career, 37 years old. I think this is probably his final shot at the title here. Now he has this belt and will probably have to fight Ilya at some point. I don't know if I like his style of fighting against the technical mastermind that is Ilya Taporia that no one has been able to beat up, and I just feel like it's going to end up with Justin Gaethje on the ground. But it is an exciting matchup to think about. I think the Paddy Pimblett thing would have been really cool, especially I don't know if you saw over the week during the presser, there was that moment where Justin or not Justin, Paddy and Ilya Taporia were kind of yelling at each other. Maybe I'll throw that on. Let's take a look. Let's find it. Paddy. I can't find it in X.
You can't find it on X. X got everything.
X got everything. No, I found it. Luckily, I gave it to Steve at some point. Shouts to Steve.
Yes.
Bounced off his foot. When I saw him last time, he got an hand sanitizer bottle bounced off his foot.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
I don't understand you.
Little nit.
Back in the flouty mouth, like what? Hand sanitizer.
Fuck you. I'm talking in English, and fuck you in English. You get the in Espanol.
You're a little mongrel.
Shut up.
That's what you are. You're a little mongrel.
Shut up. If not, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna crush your face right here.
Do it then, you little
mushroom.
fart.
You have another question?
Do it. Do it then, you little p***y. What? Do it. Do it. Come on, do something then. Do something, stand up. What'll you do? You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing, you little fart. Go and sit back down. Sit back down, you little p***y.
Everything you talk.
Little mushroom.
Hey,
You little chorizo, you fucking Spanish sausage.
Yeah, well,
Fighters
we didn't get that moment, right? And I hear some of the fight there. I mean, Justin just like pressure the whole time, and yeah, that Scouser, a great chin on him. He didn't drop, but he definitely took a beating there in that fight. Then Sean O'Malley beat Song Yadong, and that one wasn't as kind of as big of a distance in terms of the two fighters there, but Sean O'Malley did enough to end that two-match losing streak there. He didn't win all of 2025, so he definitely needed that one. But yeah, and then the other one I wanted to show is Derek Lewis, who I don't know what happened here.
Oh, nice right from Lewis.
But
that right there is kind of why.
Yeah.
Right? He's a step behind. Oh,
That's crazy.
tired. No energy.
oh my goodness.
Oh, nice right from Lewis.
he just got tapped there and just fell.
Oh, he's a step behind. Oh,
I like how dude's like, oh,
he's
come
a
on.
step behind. Oh,
That's crazy.
oh my goodness. Oh,
Oh, nice right
That's
from Lewis.
wild. He just got tapped. It makes me feel like, man, was that fixed? Like, is there some money on the line here? What is going on? That's definitely a
Nah,
bit
he's
shady
just old and out of shape.
yeah.
He don't need to be fighting anymore.
No, he's just here to make money. Just here to make money.
Yep. You got a nice little check for that.
Well, Quay, do you have anything you wanted to speak on before we conclude the show tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to talk a little basketball. Nothing super crazy has been going on. Probably some trades that will eventually happen as we get closer towards All-Star weekend in about, wow, I guess 2.5 weeks, literally right around the corner. Yeah, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. So we'll see how everything happens. I guess the biggest thing is like LeBron not being starter in the All-Star game,
Yeah, but he's
which
still putting up 20 something points, right?
yeah, still putting up 20. The man is over 40, still dunking. He still has explosion. Yeah, he's not the same player, but he can still do things better than 90% of the league. Still a top 10 basketball player. And so, but I really wanted to talk about just kind of continue on some of the coaching carousels that we had talked about a little bit with after we talked about Mike Tomlin and stuff. So, NFL and the coaching carousel. And as you know me, I like to do a spiel that, ties in with life a little bit. Life is unpredictable. Life is chaotic. You never know what can happen. I mean, a lot of these guys lost their jobs and wasn't really expecting that they would potentially lose their job. I guess in Mike Tomlin's case, he stepped down. We weren't looking to fire him if he wasn't going to step down or part ways with him. So he's the only exception here. But Harbaugh, I'm not sure if Harbaugh thought for 100%, certainty that he would not be the coach. Stefanski, I'm pretty sure, probably out, like on the way out. We had like the Brian Dables out. The most surprising one, which I think, this into, what I was getting at, where surprise, like change happens and you don't expect it. And that's Sean McDermott with the Bills. Yeah, they had a heartbreaking loss against the Broncos. Yes, you can make all the points about how this was the year Josh Allen should have done it. No Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson. But I do, and yeah, there's the 4 turnovers that he had and all that. I get that. But I do think the call of an interception there was a bit of a heartbreaker, just for the simple fact that I think, in my humblest opinion, that should have been more ruled as a simultaneous catch. And if it's a simultaneous catch, the moment Brandon Cooks was down with the ball, it should have been Bill's catch and ball. I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of the Seahawks Green Bay replacement refs game. It should have been the Packers who won that game. Instead, they gave it to the Seahawks, saying that your boy caught it, which wasn't really the case. But that wasn't even a simul catch type of situation. But that's why they ruled it a touchdown, because they viewed it as some having a simultaneous catch. When in reality, that was not the case. Like, the defender had it first, there was a slight bobble, and then it kind of went into, I think that was Curse's hands, and then they were kind of fighting over it. But I didn't think there was like clear possession, and it wouldn't then be the rule of simultaneous catch. But in this case, like I said, I felt like it was that for them. So it was a heartbreak. And then to pretty much make McDermott the scapegoat and promote the person who you could say kind of helped. And I won't say helped in the sense that like he forced it, but helped, make the case for McDermott to be fired. It was Brandon Beane, the GM, who got promoted. Only 2 draft picks that have been Pro Bowlers, the entire time he has been a GM. That's unacceptable. As we talk about Kevin Colbert's era and Steelers being not the greatest, Brandon Beane is on that trajectory if he hasn't already him. But I say that all to say, when you don't expect it and it looks like, things are going, like things completely gone off the rails, sometimes change is good. Sometimes change allows for you to grow. Sometimes change allows for you to look at things differently and then take another approach. And so I shout out to all these coaches who, have found new jobs. Harbaugh being with the Giants, Stefanski being with the Falcons, McDaniels maybe becoming a coach for the Bills right now, offensive coordinator with the Chargers. Sometimes a fresh start is needed. And for those who watch our show, like I said, I like to tie things like that into real life. Sometimes we need a fresh start. And, it may be hard to take that, step into a fresh start, or maybe something forced you into a fresh start. But go into it with confidence, go into it with, excitement, because that's the beauty of it. You just never know what, potential could come out of change. Sometimes we get stagnant by doing the same thing. Be excited for the fact that there is something that can make you grow and help you change.
Yeah.
That's my spiel.
Yeah, well, thank you, Quay, for keeping all of us introspective and understanding that in this life there's this ups and downs, and it's all about perspective. And I think a bit of optimism in this world, especially right now with everything going on, can definitely help
Goes a long
us
way.
stay sane. Yeah, can go a long way. And that's it for our show. It is almost morning here, January 25th, 2026. It is
morning
season
here.
7, episode
Late.
2 of the Spiel Sports Talk Show. Yeah, it's 3 a.m. So,
1 o'clock here.
yeah, we're glad we're able to get you this episode here tonight, before the games, and hopefully we can get a big special Super Bowl preview edition next week. So, till next time, have a good championship Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week, folks.
Yeah.
Happy Championship Sunday.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Kick it with my homies,
I'm sorry,
only true
Phil.
ones, no phonies. My life real sweet like Tony. Montana, frosted flakes
Let's
with the tiger.
go.
And ladies, say hi to the kings of this output.
Gil, you're so cute. Just want to be so close to me, huh? Sweetie. Been like sitting.